kilometers, they are good to go. And so, Subi, I'm happy to see you again. So what it meant was that Ghanaians had bought into the message that they believed that I would be able to reset things, and we use the word reset as one of our major campaign points, be able to reset things in order to build the confidence of our people in our democracy again. And so that responsibility is not lost on me. And so since 7th January, every step I've taken is meant to restore the faith of our people in our democracy and let them know that we can lead this country in a way different from what has been done in the past. And so to try to do this, one, the first and foremost was the cost of living and the general hardship that Ghanaians were going through. And so that has been one of the main focuses of the administration in the last 5 months we've been in office, focusing on stabilizing the economy, focusing on reducing hardship, cutting down expenditure, bringing more accountability into government, enacting a strong fight against corruption, introducing codes of conduct to guide leaders in political office. So these are all things that we have, focused on and fast-tracked in the last 5 months. And happily, we have seen a response to the work that we've done, especially when it comes to the economy and hardship and all that. And somebody says, point to one policy that you have implemented to make the CD appreciate. And I said, one policy, it's not about one policy, the answer is effective leadership. With effective leadership, we can turn this economy around and create a better life for our people. And that is what I'm committed to make sure that by the time we finish these 4 years, we'll set a standard in government that whichever party or whichever people come into governance cannot reverse the gains that we have made in restoring our people's confidence in our democracy. And so we'll continue to listen to the nuggets of wisdom that you give us, because it makes us better, it makes us stronger. And a new airport terminal we call Terminal 3. And again, we built it on the balance sheet of the Ghana Airports Company Limited. And so that project is paying for itself without sitting on our public debt. And so these are some of the innovative ideas that we need to introduce in order that our debts continue to be sustainable. But also increasingly, one of the push factors for the debt is the strength of the value of the local currency. Our debt continued to multiply because the CD continued to grow weaker. And so you needed more CDs. Because our public debt is stated in CDs, the weaker the CD becomes against the foreign currencies, the higher it pushes up your debt. Fortunately, some measures we put in place have recently begun to show results, and the CD has been strengthening. And so we've reduced our total debt over the last 5 months by almost 150 billion CDs, which is very significant. And so if that trajectory continues, the target of reaching 55 to 58% debt sustainability by 2028 will be reached by the end of this year. And that means that it gives us fiscal space to begin to invest in the most productive sectors of the economy. But like I said, we need to look inward, boost domestic revenue, cut wasteful government expenditure, fight corruption and introduce better accountability in government.
The ceremony featured the hoisting of the Ghanaian and UN flags, symbolizing the nation's commitment to international peacekeeping efforts. Wreaths were laid in memory of the fallen heroes, paying tribute to their dedication and bravery. In his address, the United Nations Resident Coordinator in Ghana, His Excellency Osama Makawi, emphasized the indispensable contributions of peacekeepers in advancing global peace and security. He highlighted that for nearly 80 years, UN peacekeepers have made tangible impacts on the lives of communities they serve, underscoring the need to recognize and celebrate their unwavering service.
The presence of our men and women in uniform stands as a powerful testament of their indispensable contribution in advancing the cause of peace and security. For nearly 80 years, United Nations peacekeepers have made tangible impact on lives of communities they serve. They have saved and changed lives in some of the world's most fragile political and security situations, having helped many countries successfully navigate the difficult path from war to peace.
The Minister for Government Communication and Member of Parliament for Ibra Asibu Kwaman Kese, Felix Ofosu Kwache, who served as the guest of honor, acknowledged the multifaceted challenges peacekeepers face in an increasingly complex environment. He noted that peacekeeping operations often contend with inadequate funding, unclear mandates, and political constraints that hinder their effectiveness. He called for the evolution of peacekeeping strategies to maintain their vital role, reinforcing global and regional partnership and advancing deeper multilateral cooperation.
Peacekeepers confront multidimensional challenges in an increasingly difficult and complex environment. In parallel, peacekeeping operations often face inadequate funding, unclear mandates, and political constraints that hinder their effectiveness. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, as the global landscape for peacekeeping grows increasingly complex, peacekeeping must evolve to maintain its vital role. Reflecting on the theme for today's event, we are confronted with the question of how we can strengthen partnerships and multilateralism to meet the peacekeeping challenges of tomorrow. Adapting peacekeeping to our changing world calls for an approach centered on reinforcing global and regional partnerships while advancing deeper multilateral cooperation. In this context, we must direct our collective focus towards these key imperatives. First, for multilateralism to effectively deliver peace and stability in an increasingly complex environment, it rests on our individual and collective commitment to strengthen peacekeeping partnerships. Here, Ghana recognizes the importance of deepening collaboration between the UN and regional organizations such as the African Union. This requires strengthening and empowering such regional organizations to play their vital roles in the maintenance of international peace and security in today's complex world, in line with the UN Charter.
The gathering served as a poignant reminder of the professionalism, dedication, and courage exhibited by men and women serving in UN peacekeeping operations. It also highlighted the resilience of the communities they support reaffirming Ghana's steadfast commitment to promoting international peace and security. The International Day of UN Peacekeepers, observed annually on May 29th, marks the anniversary of the establishment of the first UN peacekeeping mission in 1948. This day serves to honor the memory of those who have lost their lives in the cause of peace and to pay tribute to all who continue to serve in UN peacekeeping operations worldwide.
Helping countries now truly African.
Ha! How can we some local fast? Papa, me again. Let's go, Yale. Me call you, ma'am. Who hear me? Me and sent my friend doctor when I'm crossing over. See what we swear. She has malaria. Malaria. Oh, what they say with the router? Me copy the absence here. A draw in a friend router mixer. You come and ready a draw and running router. So
Gat trap and the draw ku abaso body ase. Wabo router mixer abaso. Router natural products no ne router mixer. Ya e dikutia a trick. Router tonic and the router life wa. E wuhuru e feel srade bone e fi nipadua mu. Nasa support the immune system no. Router de obi ase ye. FDA age dwede nkra to ya tu.
It's also a little bit of a cliche. I mean, we're all used to the James Bond scene, as it were, with all the ambassadors sipping champagne and seeming to do nothing else but dine and sip champagne at receptions. That is not true. That is a misconception of the time and the nature of the work.
Diplomacy is not devoid of accountability.
Everything that matters in Africa matters to Europe as well. Be it demography, be it economy, be it security, be it culture.
Can somebody tell me where Ghana is found in Africa? Is it west? Is it south? Is it north? Is it east Africa? Which one? Any idea? Any idea?
It's like on the west.
It's like, this is what? I don't get.
To the south. It's to the west. To the west.
Okay. South American ambassadors represented.
I'm transforming the UN and making the UN more fit for business for Ghana is the prime objective that I have here.
You are one outstanding journalist, broadcast journalist, who has put diplomatic tourism and, diplomatic relations under one spotlight.
I have been watching diplomatic affairs, and I've waited unabatedly for my opportunity to come here as I watched my colleague, the EU, last week.
This is Diplomatic Affairs. My name is Harriet Nati.
This is Swift Africa.
China Now is a show dedicated to providing the world with an overview of today's China. Here, you will learn about how China works, how China thinks, and how China views itself and the rest of the world. Let China not be far away from you anymore. Join us every Saturday at 8 a.m.
Join us on Talk Time for great conversations on Africa's political and socio-economic struggle and how this positively impacts its people. The show brings out the different dimensions of local and international issues. Talk Time with Kwesi Pratt Jr. airs on Saturdays at 8 p.m. with a repeat on Sundays at 8 p.m. only on Pan-African Television. Pan-African Television, truly African.
It's also a little bit of a cliche. I mean, we're all used to the James Bond scene, as it were, with all the ambassadors sipping champagne.
He has labored, he has suffered to lead his people into the land of freedom. He's the Redeemer.
This is Pan-African Television. Good morning and welcome to the Mother of all talk shows, Alhaji&Alhaji. It's another Saturday. We are grateful for the gift of life. I am SENA, NOMBO, and of course we are live on TV in Ghana, many other African countries, and also across the world on Pan-African Television. We are also live on social media, Pan-African Television on Facebook, Pan-African Television on YouTube. We are live on radio on Radio Gold. Thank you very much for your time. Well, this morning, there are many things that happened this week that drew your attention. But there's one particular that went under the radar. It was an article written by President Mahama. And the opening of the article alone is telling. It says the meeting at the White House between Donald Trump and the South African President Cyril Ramaphosa was at its heart about the preservation of essential historical truth. The U.S. president's claims of wide genocide conflicts with the actual racial persecution and massacres that took place during the 2 centuries of colonization and nearly 50 years of apartheid in South Africa. It is not enough to be affronted by these claims or to casually dismiss them as untruths. These statements are a clear example of how language can be leveraged to extend the effects of previous injustices. This mode of violence has long been used against indigenous Africans, and it cannot simply be met with silence, not anymore. That's President Mahama taking a stance against what everybody who watched it, who was African descent, was annoyed with. The meeting between Donald Trump and Cyril Ramaphosa of South Africa. Well, we'll discuss that article from President Mahama, and then we'll move on to a very interesting development. There was a lot this week. The regional chairman, Ashanti regional chairman of the MPP, was picked up by Yoko. And an interesting twist of events, because he was supposed to be with CID. He was being dealt with by the CID. Somehow Yoko got involved. He was picked up, taken to the offices of Yoko, and that started a whole political rally. There were many rallies in front of Yoko, all seeking for his release. Well, we understand as at yesterday, in fact last night, the lawyer was saying, but for an application that had been filed in court, which he seemed clearly not happy about. He would have secured his release because of the intervention of a member of parliament, one member of parliament called Mr. Brian Champo. Well, he's still behind custody, but that is a given. That's understandable. That's not what we are discussing. What we'll be talking about, actually, we'll be spending a lot of time on, is what happened on day one when he was sent there. When a journalist was told to the face, today is your last day. A Joy News reporter. There were many other threats that were issued to him. And there was some level of physical assault that he experienced. In fact, the police said they are investigating the matter. We'll be spending some time and talking about that issue in our discussion today. There's one other issue that we'll also talk about. Finally, we found the ECJ containers. And we found a number twice what we were looking for. The minority in parliament says we're all misled. The containers never went anywhere. That the energy minister has misled everybody. They're asking the energy minister to appear before parliament and answer questions because they don't believe the story he told. We'll talk about that to conclude today's discussions on the matter of all talk shows, Alhaji&Alhaji. Luckily, you're joining studio, as always. A pleasure to have him on Saturday morning. Mr. Kwesi Prajimia, who is General Secretary of the Socialist Movement of Ghana. You're also joined today again by Mr. Solomon Owusu, who is a member of the Movement for Change. Dr. Dixon Adomakokisi is former member of parliament for Anya Soutum, also joins us. And our panel will be completed by Kojo Chumbuafo, who is acting CEO of the Financial Intelligence Center. Once again, your views are very important. Do share them with us. We'll take a short break. When we come back, we'll start the discussions.
To lead his people into the land of freedom. He's the Redeemer.
Hi first year students, exciting news. The Students Loan Trust Fund has opened an application portal for first year Ghanaians enrolled in accredited public tertiary institutions to access financial support from the government of Ghana under the no fee stress policy. Here's how to apply. First, visit nofeestress.sltf.gov.gh or www.sltf.gov.gh and click Apply for No Fee Stress. You'll need your Ghana card, phone number, and student's identification number. Enter your Ghana card number, then verify your identity with the NIA by taking a selfie on the capture page. Next, fill in your personal details. You'll receive an OTP code. Confirm it on the OTP page. Then, on the tertiary information page, please enter your institutional details. Proceed to provide your banking information as instructed. You can create an account instantly if you do not have one. Review everything on the preview page. Hit submit and get a pop-up saying, "Thank you, your information has been submitted." Finally, download your completed form. At the Students Loan Trust Fund, we provide timely financial support to tertiary students.
He has labored, he has suffered to lead his people into the land of freedom.
Thank you very much for staying tuned to the Matter of All Talk Shows, Alhaji&Alhaji. We started a discussion from that article written by President John Mahama on the meeting between Cyril Ramaphosa of South Africa and President Donald Trump of the United States of America. And I'll start from my left with Mr. Solomon Owusu. Good morning.
Good morning, SENA, and good morning to my co-panelists and your cherished viewers across the globe. It's always wonderful to be here on Saturdays. Kwame Nkrumah said something that I think is still relevant in our modern day politics, which was that the independence of Ghana was meaningless unless until it was linked to the total liberation of Africa. If you look at it on the surface, you would think that you were just making a statement, but that was a prophetic statement. That is a statement that is still relevant today, that Africa can only be taken serious when we are united. The unity of Africa is so paramount that if we are to go as individual countries, we would never make any headway. America, Donald Trump invited Cyril Ramaphosa. Donald Trump is the president of the United States of America. Let's get it straight. It's the coming together of countries like what we have that makes America the United States of America. So can you imagine Ramaphosa going to America as the president of the United States of Africa? Are you sure Donald Trump would have been able to do what he did to him? But here I am not interested in going after Donald Trump. I am interested in, as it were, dealing with Ramaphosa. Because in diplomatic circles, Ramaphosa cannot convince me sitting here that he was never in the know that that video will be shown to him. It could never have been a surprise. You take it as a surprise at your own peril. It would have been discussed, but mind you, it fits into the local politics of South Africa. That is what is happening. What is the position of the EFF led by Julius Malema in terms of land expropriation? That is what we are discussing. And I believe that if there is anybody who was a sellout on that occasion, it is rather Ramaphosa and nobody. Here is the EFF preaching that the land redistribution in South Africa is a must, and that they can never be strangers on their own land. The whites have gotten enough, they are not sacking them. They say you have taken it now, give us some to also feed. And this has been the central theme of that political party, which they have a sizable number of South African populace supporting that idea. So if you cannot deal with the issues of land expropriation in South Africa as Ramaphosa, together with your ANC, mind you, the ANC is ANC because of this same issue. That they had always told South Africans that they were in to protect their interests. And here, when I say South Africans, I'm talking about black South Africans, because the Afrikaners are also South Africans. And those, the colors doesn't change anything. Knowing very well that he couldn't deal effectively with Malema back home, he had to go and hide behind Donald Trump. Well, whose video was shown? Was it not Malema? Kill the boys, kill the boys. This video has been there since. He did it somewhere 2023 or so. Did you ever hear anybody speak to that matter? And as a president, you go into a meeting with a colleague president, and one of your citizens is being lambasted, a video is being shown to you, you are unable to question the integrity of the person doing that, then you want me to take you serious? No, if anybody was a sellout on that occasion, it's Ramaphosa. And any day, I would never, because you see, it is not just right that, I don't know whether those that are thinking that what is happening in South Africa is right, they have actually been to South Africa. The whites are having a field day. All the juicy lands. You go to South Africa, you go to Zimbabwe, you go to Mozambique. It is for them. Recently, when Donald Trump invited the Afrikaners, the whites, that they can come, you grant them, amnesty, and so on and so forth in the United States. How many of them answered the call? Because they are living large in South Africa. They are treated as kids. Anytime there are xenophobic attacks, these are brothers who have been conscientized to see fellow Africans as enemies. They rather prefer to attack black Africans rather than the whites. They worship them. Go to the city of something. Go to Cape Town. I have told you here before, I was robbed in South Africa. Look, this mark I got in South Africa. They stabbed me. There was a white guy there. They didn't attack the white guy. They came to me. They took my money. They took my phones. And they were laughing. Because of the kind of orientation that we have been given by these whites. And to further add insult to injury, you go there and you give one of your own out. So I will never blame Donald Trump. He is trying to protect his American interest. And what's the American interest? The American interest is to make sure that South Africa, that is in terms of economy very strong, is weakened. America can only be classified as a rich country when there are poor countries. There can never be any rich man without a poor person. The reason for someone being rich is for someone to be poor. So the continuous poverty levels of Africa is what is making other countries rich. And if we are not going to be mindful about these facts and revert back to the core values of the founding fathers of the African Union, and to be united, go on the tangent of removing all bottlenecks, barriers. Until recently, you needed a visa to even go to South Africa. As an African. So now you make the mistake and say that you want to go to Congo tomorrow. You will spend more days than moving from Ghana to China. We have established the Africa Continental Free Trade Area. Go and see how they are unable to trade, because the issue of transportation is even so key. We are not able to move freely across countries. Yet every 25th of May we celebrate what? Africa Union Day. What is so how are we united? Is it on paper? Is it by this or what? So yes, Donald Trump would have insulted all of us, or he would have insulted Africa, but we have allowed ourselves to be insulted. Presidents in Africa must begin the process of actualizing real unity. It's a must. We live in Africa, and all of us, the common lingua franca, whatever, or language is either English or French. Kiswahili could have been popularized. We have a key language here, it could have been popularized. Our local languages, how many of us even want to be associated with it? We don't do it. We have adopted them. The least opportunity. Africa wants to hold a summit, African summit. All the heads of states are invited by Macron. That young man invites 80-year-old president, 70-year-old president, and they all move to Paris and go and salute you. Who will take you serious? Who will take Africa serious when every day Lampedusa, our men and women are dying on the ocean? When we have enough resources here to be able to develop our continent so that our people get jobs to do. So we are allowing ourselves, when we have every opportunity, politicians are giving resources to manage and manage it well, to safeguard the interest of the unborn generation, the younger generation, and even the elderly. What do? They dissipate it anyhow. And so for me, it is an eye-opener. It calls for us as a country, or as a continent, to go back, revisit the core issues of unity. Because united we stand, divided we fall. Our brother in Traore, in Burkina, what is happening? Are there no machinations to even get him out? And are you sure that the people will just plan with those in Europe and America? They will use one of our own. The last time, if you have not spoken inside, as the common people will say, if you have not screamed, the ECOWAS president led by Tinubu, that old man, together with the Kufuor, they were going to remove forcibly Traore, Abdurrahman, and then the Malian president. ECOWAS was going to fight ECOWAS. You remember that issue? So it's all about unity. When we unite, we can develop. And when we develop, we will be talking and playing the ball as rich men. Rich continent against rich continent. Donald Trump goes to Saudi Arabia. When he's speaking to what? The king of Saudi Arabia, he gives him all the respect. Is that not the case? Because he's talking to a rich man. He meets the sheikhs in UAE. It's co-equals. Goes to Qatar, he even takes a gift. Qatar gives them Boeing. Gives the American, Boeing is made in America, yet he took a gift from Qatar to the military. That is rich men talking. But poor men have no place when it comes to discussing matters with the rich man. That is why you must, by all means, hook or crook, make sure that your continent is developed. Else we will never be respected among the Committee of Nations. And that is how I see what has happened with these whole things.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Well, if you just join us, we're discussing that article written by President Mahama. Having watched the scene, what happened during that meeting between Cyril Ramaphosa of South Africa and Donald Trump. Let me go to Doc. Oh, good morning.
Yes, good morning. In fact, let me first of all say that Donald Trump is a different animal. He's not your typical American president. We can look at how he managed the Ukrainian president. We can look at even his relationship with the King of England, which, if you're a diplomat, you can certainly say that there's a small rift between King of England and Donald Trump. Never before has that happened. And in fact, I was not happy for Ramaphosa to even consider going to America under the circumstances, in the sense that the president should have known, based on Elon Musk's relationship with Donald Trump, and some of the things the picture they had painted South Africa in relation to how they're managing the whites. Though not true, but those are signals that he should have picked and maybe delayed or forestalled having to have an engagement with Donald Trump. At any rate, we must be very careful. I personally had a certain perception about African Americans, okay? There's a huge gap between we Africans and the African Americans in terms of our perception about life. And until you live with them and appreciate their history, okay, though they're Africans, their history is not the same as ours, based on their great-great-great-grandfather's slave experience. And you know, life has a way of changing you when you go through certain things. And I think that when you're in the Californias and other states where for no reason, except for the fact that you are black and driving a Porsche car, they can stop you and ask for your license and all these kinds of things, which they wouldn't do to a typical white man. When you experience these things, you can then come to appreciate sometimes how the black Americans react to the white, you know, either police or not. Now, I'm saying all of this as a background and saying that I think South Africa's president, either his diplomats in America failed to, you know, check the waters and advise him on how to prepare to meet Donald Trump. Because Donald Trump would embarrass you when he gets a chance. And for that matter, Ramaphosa should have been well equipped and aware of the many things that, because I remember that Donald Trump in some interviews was showing pictures, of atrocities and was trying to, as it is, make people aware that Ukraine was doing the wrong things. Okay, and I, for one, I must say that Ramaphosa should have been much more prepared if he agreed to have a meeting with Donald Trump in terms of also photos, also videos, which then he could have, as it is, maybe respectfully, even after he left the White House, granted a major interview with CNN, and all of these things can be arranged. Or Fox News, you understand? You pay for it and clear yourself and your country's image. I, for one, have not been very happy to hear that white South Africans have been given refugee status in America. It's a damning, sort of a report on your country. Though it's bogus, it is damning. And I think that more work now has to be done really by South Africa, let me say, to correct the wrongful image painted on South Africa and to help people appreciate that, listen, the things in South Africa are crazy. Look at what Solomon is saying. You know, listen, for crying out loud, they killed this music artist, Lucky Dube. I mean, come on, who does that? Who does that? So there are many underground stories of brutalities being meted out by blacks on blacks, or shall I say, South Africans on South Africans. And sometimes, too, unfortunately, the stories are misrepresented. You know, with regards to being xenophobic and all of these things. When you go into the nitty-gritty, you realize that within themselves, they are doing it. But when it happens to be a Nigerian, then, hey, we blow the story up wrongly. So we, even in Africa, also have to be mindful of the fact that we do not understand South Africa. I'm Ghanaian. and I must admit on national TV that a visit to South Africa a day or 2 or 3 days or whatever does not make me an authority on the nuances in South Africa. I was privileged to watch them when they had to share power just recently, and in the interviews with their legislative arm, I realized that wow, the dynamics in that country is totally different from Nigeria, totally different from Kenya, and these are some of the key countries in Africa. So we need to learn to be a bit hesitant in our discussion of some of our neighboring and distant countries, and rightly so. South Africa, in as much as it is African, their economy, we are nowhere near South Africa's economy. Let's admit the fact. But I must also say that in terms of the trickling of the economic gains, I think we're better off. The distinction between those who have and don't have in South Africa is so grave. We don't have shanty towns here, and we don't have very, let me say, hardened criminals like South Africa. Some of the criminals we have here are brutal, but actually the South African criminals, my goodness, some of the things I've seen and heard, the way they don't respect life, and some of the atrocities they commit on their own people. I mean, I had a friend, thank to God he's alive. He was just to transfer an envelope of cash from one location to the other. They slit his throat until they managed to get him. They slit his throat, I mean, to get the money, And they, when they are taking us, there's not the armed robberies we see here, heavy ones. So I just want to say that South Africa certainly has a lot of work to do with regards to their international image, and they shouldn't take it for granted. They need to work on it, and then they also need to work on their people. And those who have seen Joburg, and been to some of the townships, clear day and night. It's like, I don't know how to say, even the likes of Trasaco versus Choco is small. I mean, the contrast that we will see, or East Legon, or where you live in a beautiful neighborhood, compared to some of the places at Jamestown. I mean, that is a contrast you have. But the South African one, Massa, when you see it, you wonder, how? Beautiful buildings in Botswana, then you come to the Sowetos and things, and like, hey, what is this? Pretoria, nice. Then you go here, like, hey, this same country, just between Amasaman and, let me say, Pokwase, the contrast is unimaginable. So I think that Ghana has it better. Our GDP does not compare to South Africa, but I think per opportunities in Ghana to go to school and all of this, Ghana is far better on a whole, and I think that South Africa certainly needs a lot of work. And it's unfortunate that Donald Trump, as we always know, his crazy behavior, or shall I say, very uncultured behavior, is unacceptable. And I also would use this opportunity to say that, listen, we need to sit up and sell our story to America. We need to sell our own story to the West. The West tells their people what they want to tell them about us. We also need to be now prideful and sell our story. I mean, I think their immigration officers, when they now know that, hey, Africa, this is also in Africa, and there are things happening. Africans are not monkeys. I think that when we get into America and we're crossing the immigration, they will see us in a different light. So I think it's rather an opportunity, certainly, for all of us to wake up and sell Africa and sell it well, not through just our food and clothing, but our intellectual capacity and our ability to do things and to change the narrative. Professors were saying that some of the beautiful architecture in Africa are not done by Africans. I mean, these are the kinds of stories they say. And I think the narrative is on us to change the narrative. We have to change the narrative. And this gives us an opportunity to do so. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Well, having said that, let's go to Mr. Pratt whilst we await the entry of Kojo Chumbo. Mr. Pratt?
Well, first of all, I must say that when I read the piece by His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, I felt very, very proud. I felt so very proud, partly because I contrasted his stance on what Donald Trump had done with the stance of the just ended regime of His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. I recall seeing the Ghanaian president sitting in front of Anthony Blinken and reporting on another head of state, indeed, in this case, the head of state of Burkina Faso, and asking for U.S. assistance in order to subvert the interest of another African country. The contrast is so huge, so very huge. And when I read President John Dramani Mahama's article, I said, perhaps we are redeeming ourselves. We are beginning to show to the world that we will stand up for what we believe in and that we would not be kicked around anymore. Now, having said that, I think I must agree with Solomon Owusu, the other panelist, for his remarks about Cyril Ramaphosa. I was deeply embarrassed by Cyril Ramaphosa. And I was more worried when I heard some African commentators saying that, oh, he comported himself well, that in the face of the insults and the attack, he remained cool and so on. And I was wondering, and when we're being humiliated, when we're being pummeled, when we're being attacked, if you remain cool and composed, is that a credit? Is that really a credit? You know, one of the questions that I've asked is that what was Cyril Ramaphosa doing in the Oval Office? Who sent him there? Who asked him to go there? What was his problem? You see, again, I have to agree with Solomon that he knew that he was going to be humiliated. He knew that the stage had been set to embarrass Africa, to embarrass South Africa. And you can tell that from the composition of his delegation. He actually took time to select white golfers to be part of his delegation. And his administration explained that Donald Trump is in love with golf and that the selection of white golfers was to serve as an appeasement to Donald Trump. Cyril Ramaphosa, why this behavior? Why this embarrassment? I mean, unbelievable. He knew it was going to happen. It had happened to many others before him, you understand? And yet, he deliberately walked into a trap to be humiliated. I find nothing graceful about how Cyril Ramaphosa behaved in South Africa. Cyril Ramaphosa was an embarrassment to the African people, and he must be told in the face. African leaders have a duty to solidarize with themselves and with their people in their struggles against decadence, in their struggle against poverty, in their struggles against underdevelopment, and so on. The leaders of Africa must understand that it is not their duty to appease those who lead the countries which have led us to our current state of underdevelopment and poverty. And Cyril Ramaphosa is one of those leaders who has not been able to find his bearing. Now, I was struck by the fact that the leader of the country, which most supported apartheid in South Africa, is the one who has the effrontery today to look South Africa in the face and accuse South Africa of racism. You see, sometimes we forget. Nelson Mandela, after 27 years in prison, when he was released, when he contested elections and won, and became president of South Africa, he was still on the terrorist list of the United States of America. Now, it is the United States of America, its president, which is turning around to accuse South Africa of racism. Unbelievable. I was looking for some description. And I'm still struggling to find some description. And I know that the description I have now, which I'm going to use, may be inappropriate. But it still tells the story. And it is this case of the pot calling the kettle black. I mean, the racism in this segment itself is huge. Pot and kettle, the symbolism is huge. But let me use it for now. You understand? Unbelievable. Unbelievable. That President of the United States of America is talking about racist attacks. And in some of his speeches, he actually refers to what is happening in South Africa as genocide against whites.
White genocide.
Now, this is the country which is supplying the bombs which are being dropped on Gaza. 70,000 people have been killed in Gaza. 2/3 of them are women and children. This is the country which is providing intelligence to the Israeli army to bomb Gaza. They are showing the Israelis where to bomb. This is that country, Donald Trump. In the last 11 weeks, Israel has blocked food, water, medical supplies to Gaza with the approval of Donald Trump. And Donald Trump has the effrontery to accuse South Africa of racism. Unbelievable. But that is what has happened. It has happened because some of our African leaders really qualify to be described as house niggers. And they truly are house niggers. You see, the African story has not been told. The true African story has not been told yet.
By ourselves.
Yes. And indeed, SENA, please allow me to say this. Over the last couple of weeks, I've been pondering. And as a result, I decided to write a book, which is finished now.
Oh,
you know.
Wait. You wrote a book in weeks.
The wallow is there. So at any time, when you pause it, it's there.
So I've actually written a book on reparation. Its history, the politics, the struggles, and the law. I mean, international law. I submitted it to the publishers last week. And hopefully it should come out immediately. And I do this because it is important to tell that African story. You understand? Because if you don't tell that African story, if you don't know that history, we would always be bullied. Look, we suffered centuries of slavery. The transatlantic slave trade. What was it about? Our forebears, the strongest, because the slavers were not interested in weak people, they needed strong people. So the strongest of our population were captured and sent out to work for the United States of America, some of these Western countries and so on, without pay for hundreds of years. And so, they captured our best architects, our best medicine men or doctors, our engineers and so on, were captured. 12.6 million Africans were removed from here and sent abroad to serve as beasts of burden. The African underdevelopment is partly accounted for by this. You understand? Now, only recently, when COVID-19 broke out, it was during that period that I learned that the art of vaccination came from West Africa. The art of vaccination is African. It came from West Africa. Today, we are looking for AstraZeneca vaccines and so on. We started it. It was stolen from us. You understand? So the harm that the transatlantic slave trade did to us is huge. But you see, we even have to go back to the origin. And if you go back to the origin, it's even more shocking. What Western religion has done to us, Western religion, the Catholic Church, what it did to us is huge. Look, it was in 1452 that the Pope signed the papal bull, authorizing King Alfonso of Portugal to go and civilize the rest of the world. And by civilization meant converting the world to Christianity. And in the papal bull, please, if you have Google it, it's there. The Pope said that those who refuse to be converted to Christianity should be killed. The Pope. That those who refuse to convert to Christianity should be killed. Their wives should be seized from them, and so on. This is 1452. It is the papal bull who described African lands as vacant, lands without owners, and so on, and created the conditions for what became classical colonialism. And under classical colonialism, we had no rights as African people at all. No rights. You see, first of all, we couldn't choose our leaders. In the Gold Coast, at some point, district chief executives were appointed by the Queen of England. We are not talking about the president, too. District chief executives were appointed by the Queen of England. The head of state, who was the governor who sacked the Christiansborg Castle, was a representative of the Queen of England. We had no rights at all. When I was growing up, and I'm still alive, I'm sitting here, so you can imagine what my grandfather saw. When I was growing up, you go to school, your science teacher is white. Your science teacher is white. In some schools, the headmasters were white. You go to church, the priest is white. You go to hospital, the doctor is white. So everybody who mattered in our society was white. I mean, invariably, inferiority complex begins to creep in as a result of the setting. In Accra, the rich hospital, which is today the Greater Accra Regional Hospital, was a whites-only hospital. Black people who were there were sweepers, were servants. It was a whites-only hospital. What has today become the crack club was a whites-only club. You understand? This is what we have been through. Now, if you go to the United States of America, the situation is even worse. When these white vagabonds, in fact, ex-prisoners, buccaneers, and crooks, and so on, were sent to the United States of America, what did they do? They killed the Chicanos. They killed the Red Indians in order to possess their lands, to take their lands from them. They killed them. They massacred them. In fact, the United States of America today is built on the blood of Indians and the brawn power of blacks. That is why today in the United States of America, and the United States of America up to today has not overcome this racism and so on. So the Chicanos, the Latinos, the African Americans, and so on, are still subjected to extreme racism. Extreme racism. So if you live in a country like that, if you're president of a country like that, and you can turn around and call South Africa a racist society, something must be wrong. Something is not adding up. You understand? I mean, in 1976, I visited the United States. You know, I toured about 8 of the states in the United States. And to my shock and horror, I was taken to a place called Mikusuki in the south, near Miami and so on. And I was told I was being taken to an Indian reservation. I didn't know what it meant until I got there. It's a zoo for human beings. Indians are kept there in their so-called natural habitats. And before you say, and it's happening up to today, you pay gate fee to go and see Indians in their so-called natural habitat. This is a country which is talking about human rights. This is a country which is preaching to us. In any case, look, after apartheid, and I visit South Africa quite a lot, you understand, the blacks are still completely dispossessed of their lands. And Dr. Admako Kisi spoke earlier and described the scene. I mean, you go to Joburg. Where are the blacks in Joburg? Apart from a few like Cyril Ramaphosa who have escaped the poverty net and are hobnobbing with the whites and so on, the blacks are still living in the apartheid era. Master, they live in shacks, and you know what a shack is? Homes built of curtains, or at best, discarded corrugated iron sheets. And they burn all the time. And they are harassed by the police all the time. You move from South Africa, from Joburg, and you drive 2 hours to Bella Bella and see the tracts of land owned by white people. Indeed, until recently, any black you found in Bella Bella is a driver, a domestic servant, or farm laborer. And Donald Trump doesn't see this. He doesn't know about this, and he's talking about this war song, Kill the Boers. That's not a song which was composed today. Indeed, it was a war song of resistance. It was a war song of resistance, which Malema continues to sing. You understand? It's a symbol of the resistance of black people to years of torture, to years of dehumanizing existence, and so on. And then he raises this issue, and so Ramaphosa's answer is that, Malema belongs to a small party. He's not mainstream. Is that the answer? Cyril Ramaphosa, is that all you could say? And then he says that in South Africa there are laws which allows everybody to express himself. That's Ramaphosa's answer to Donald Trump. Incredible, unbelievable. I cannot believe it. But you see, with leaders like Cyril Ramaphosa, how are we ever going to make progress on this continent? Today, it is hard to find an Nkrumah in the leadership of Africa. Today, it's extremely difficult to find a Modibo Keita or a Sekou Touré or an America Cabral and so on. They are all looking like Cyril Ramaphosa. And that is why I'm so very happy that His Excellency President John Dramani Mahama said something which is edifying, said something which clearly shows that among this rabble of neo-colonial leaders and so on, it is still possible to find one or two, maybe 3 or 4, who will stand up to defend the dignity of the African people, and who would insist that African people should solidarize with themselves in the face of this aggression. And Master, a lot of people don't understand why the West is supporting the Zionists in Israel against Palestine. They don't understand. I mean, only yesterday I was talking to some friends and I said, what is happening in the world? So, you mean the Western countries can't see what is happening in Gaza and so on? I said, look, they cannot condemn what is happening in Gaza because a condemnation of what is happening in Gaza will be a condemnation of themselves. This is how capitalism was built. Capitalism was built on slave labor. The accumulation which led to capitalism is built on slave labor. You understand? And we have been so brainwashed that now we actually act against ourselves. And one of the most popular Christian songs is Amazing Grace. Those of you who go to church. When they start singing it in church, they sing it with passion, Amazing Grace. And so
how sweet.
Do you know the history of that song? That song was written by an accomplice in slave raiding. Slave trader wrote Amazing Grace. So you black man, when you go to church and you are singing Amazing Grace with passion, you are a fool. No, it is true. Master, what is wrong with what I just said?
Out of ignorance.
But if you're ignorant, what are you?
So they are pleading. So we're pleading.
So they sing Amazing Grace with passion. A song written by a slave trader. Understand? But we have been so brainwashed. And look,
even the Achimota issue, that's why I was not happy. We used to have our hair. Our hair is literally nappy. And for that matter, nappy hair was rather an issue for whites. And should somebody go to Achimota with hair that is nappy, who are we to be? That was our natural, type of hair.
Okay. You see, of course, everybody knows that I still hold President Mills in high esteem. I think he was a decent man. He was an honest man. He loved his country and so on. But there are some aspects of President Mills's life, which tells me that he himself had become a victim of the colonial narrative. When he decided that libation pouring should be ended, because he was a Christian, I was wondering, how can such a fine man, a man dedicated to his country, a man who in his heart of hearts felt that he stood for African liberation and so on, come up with such an edict?
He wasn't a traditionalist.
It was because he, like many others, have been brainwashed, completely brainwashed. Look, it was Bishop Akwesi Sapong of Kumasi, Catholic bishop, and I want to salute Bishop Akwesi Sapong wherever he is, who came out and said, look, there's no difference between libation pouring and the Holy Sacrament. Catholic bishop, he said it, not me. I'm sure you've all heard it, that there's no substantial difference between libation pouring and the Holy Sacrament. Look, it was only recently that Africans, Ghanaians, could go to church in African robes. It was considered hidden. It is only recently that when the priests wear their cassock and so on, sometimes you see stripes of kente and so on in it. It was not allowed. African drums were banned from the churches. African drums. And compare African drums to European drums and see which produces the best rhythm and so on. But ours was banned. Ours was banned so that we become dependent even on the West for our music, for our culture and so on. The time has come to change this. The time has come to build that new Africa, whose people are proud of who they are. You see, we live in the tropics. We live in the tropics. And the tropical condition, in fact, demands that we eat some foods. Those who live in the temperate region, because of their geography, their weather and so on, have to eat some things which makes them warm. Okay? And so on. But we have been so brainwashed that today we are even refusing to eat tropical food and are eating food from the temperate zone. It is not even good for our health. Look, up to today, our legal profession believes that you need to wear a black suit, put a bib around your neck,
That's a British legal system.
wear a gown, and on top of that, wear a wig in order to look decent. Unbelievable. And we uphold that as some tradition. Imagine the kind of heat that we went through yesterday. And imagine judges going to work in that apparel. And if, God forbid, your air condition fails, by the time you get to the court building, I don't want to smell your armpit. I mean, they subject themselves to this indignity.
So you recommend that they change their outfit, like the speaker has?
It is changing in some countries.
So maybe
I understand that in Burkina Faso, it is changing, and so on. For their own comfort, don't change because of me or what I say. For your own comfort, do you feel comfortable in that clownish outfit? Do you feel comfortable in that clownish outfit? So all of these have to change. And they can only change if the true African story is told. If the achievements of the African people are highlighted. And if we begin to fight to build that new Africa, proud Africa of proud Africans, owning their own resources and exploiting these resources for the benefit of our people. It will only change if we as Africans begin to tear down these colonial boundaries. And you see, again in 1884, Otto von Bismarck, then Chancellor of Berlin, of Germany, invited other colonial leaders, European leaders, to come and have a discussion. And the purpose of the discussion was that they should divide Africa among themselves without war. They didn't want any bloody conflict and so on. They should be able to divide Africa among themselves without war. This is 1884, the Berlin Conference. Now, what did they do? They put a map of Africa on the table. They drew pencils and used those pencils to draw lines demarcating their areas of influence. The boundaries we have today were drawn in Berlin in 1884 without the presence of any African. There was no African at the table. And we fight over these borders. Amazing. We fight over these borders. I've traveled through Africa a bit. Kodo, I've traveled through Africa a bit.
You're announcing Kojo's presence.
Yes. And when you travel across our borders, it is shocking. You see, one of the most typical boundaries is the Ghana-Togo border. Now, if you go on the Ghana-Togo border, SENA, you find one house, not two houses, one house. The kitchen is in Togo and the bedroom is in Ghana. How did that happen? It happened because those who drew that line of demarcation did not care who your uncle was, who your brother was, who spoke what language, and so on. They were just demarcating their areas of influence. They didn't care about we the Africans. So it is that today, if you cross the Ghana-Ivory Coast border, you have Nzemas in Ghana and you have Nzemas in La Côte d'Ivoire. They've been divided. That division was not their choice. You understand? And there's a very funny case of one of these African countries where two brothers, I think they were twin brothers, I'm not so sure. One was prime minister of another country and the other one was president of another country and so on. These boundaries mean nothing. They're useless boundaries that we should pull down and build the United States of Africa and integrate our economy, integrate our armed forces. And you see, up to today, any African leader who works for this aspiration is killed. Last week or 2 weeks ago, I was so sad. The intelligence officer who led the coup against Patrice Lumumba, Belgium intelligence officer who led the coup against Patrice Lumumba in the Congo, actually told the press 2 weeks ago that he was responsible for killing Patrice Lumumba and that he cut Patrice Lumumba's body into 34 pieces. He's saying it. He's not being accused. He's saying it. That he cut Patrice Lumumba's body into 34 pieces and dissolved these pieces in acid and kept his front teeth as souvenir. Now, the shock of it is that this intelligence officer is still walking the streets of Belgium. Nobody has arrested him. He's not being prosecuted. Is that not shocking? Belgian society today accepts this guy. He's not being prosecuted. Nothing has happened to him. He cut an African hero, an African leader, popularly elected leader, into 34 pieces and kept his front teeth as souvenir. And he's still walking about free man. I mean, is that not shocking? Is that not shocking? Look at what they did to Chris Hani. When Mandela assumed power, they didn't want radicals surrounding him. They didn't want people who think like me around him and so on. So they decided to eliminate them. Chris Hani was shot, point blank shot. They killed him. When Gaddafi started talking about the emancipation of Africa and its unity and so on, look at how they killed him and put him in a deep freezer. Put his body in a deep freezer in a supermarket for people to go and see. Can you imagine? They killed one of the greatest African leaders and put his body in an ordinary deep freezer, put it in a supermarket for people to go and see. And this is not in the 1960s, this is not in the 1970s, this is now. So look, Africans, let's wake up. Let's wake up. SENA, I may not live long enough. I may not live for a very long time. Anything can happen. I may die through natural consequences and so on. Because of the way I'm speaking today, I can become a target of attack of anything. They've killed people who didn't say half of what I'm saying today. So I would not be surprised if one day I'm killed as well. But you see, we must make these people realize that the more they kill, the more we will open up our minds and fight for what is ours and build that new Africa. That they cannot stop us by killing our leaders. They can kill Bob Marley, they can kill Patrice Lumumba, they can kill Chris Hani, they can kill whoever they want to kill. But more and more progressive leaders, more and more leaders who want a paradigm change in Africa, more and more leaders who will begin to speak like John Mahama has spoken, will emerge. I'm happy with what Mr. John Mahama has said, but I need to remind him, and I think that this is my duty as an African, to remind him that there's a lot of work to be done. Yes, we are happy with what he has said, but what he has said will pale into insignificance and will have no meaning for as long as we continue to harbor a U.S. military base on Ghanaian soil. For as long as we continue to harbor a U.S. military base on Ghanaian soil, his defense of Cyril Ramaphosa would not mean much.
Thank you very much. There is this Adam who is watching us via Facebook, who says, in 2006, when I served on UN peacekeeping duty, I found to my surprise that the mayor of Bondoko in northern Cote d'Ivoire, Kofi Dapa, was the first cousin to then Minister for National Security of Ghana, Kan Dapa. Very interesting. There's also Kamal Dokorogo Ibrahim, who is also joining us. The struggle against racism remains the bread and butter for some of us in our professional lives. Ignorance is no longer an acceptable excuse on our part as Africans to allow this to continue. Can't wait to read Anga Kwesi Pratt's book. Engineer, good morning, and nice to see you.
Nice to see you, Sena. Good morning to all of you. Good morning to all listeners. Good morning to my favorite MPP doctor, to my big brother, Uncle Kwesi, a man that I admire a lot for his foresight. Some of the things he was saying in the 80s and the 90s, for which he got into trouble, was arrested. And we'll talk about arrests later, I'm sure. Some of them have become what we are doing today. One of the things he said then was, why the hell are you people allowing these people to come and take our gold and take it away? Why aren't we selling it ourselves or letting it stay in the ground? What are we doing today? What has it done to the stability of our city? In just 4 months. In just 4 months. What has it done to the stability of our city? Kwesi Pratt said then, why are you people still selling our state institutions? Not one of them in private hands will survive. What happened? Today, people are dismantling the Bonsa tire factory and using it to make saucepans. Abosu Gold glass factory. The implements that was brought there by no less a government than the Buzi administration, because my father was the first general manager. So I spent part of my formative years in Abosu. And they had a phenomenal, and the idea, give them credit where it is due. Of course, that's Dr. Kwame Nkrumah's idea. Like, let's decentralize industrialization to stop urban drift. Those policies were not policies that we are always standing up. We the politicians, they give us a speech, we go and stand somewhere and we say what has been said 50 years ago. But actually 50 years ago, people actually actualized it. But before I go to Cyril Ramaphosa's disgraceful encounter with Donald Trump, I'm sure most of you, the listeners and the watchers and those of us sitting here, we know something called the subwoofer, right? Some of you have subwoofers. You like subwoofers. You like the sound that comes out of subwoofers, especially for people like Uncle Kwesi who love reggae music. And I love reggae music. Reggae music on a subwoofer is unbelievable, right? Okay. The development of subwoofers started in 1970s, the 1970s. There are two physicists called Thiel and Benson. They experimented with the idea of bass extension with small enclosures, okay? But we were limited by something called the Hoffman iron law. That iron law posited that it was impossible to extend the sound of bass through small enclosures because of the natural frequency of bass. So there was a gentleman called Mr. Bose, an Indian professor in MIT, who came to Ghana for whatever he came for. And his host took him to a Wulome concert. And at that Wulome concert, with Nite Ashite now Manua of blessed memory, there was a gentleman sitting on a box. For those of you who like Wulome music, go back and watch them on YouTube. There's a gentleman sitting on a box. And there was incredible bass sound coming out of the box that he was using, to the extent that Nite Ashite and his group played that traditional music without a bass guitar, because the percussion that comes from a bass guitar wasn't needed because of that box that that gentleman was, you know. For those of you who listen to that music, Mr. Bose bought one of those boxes, Professor Bose bought one of those boxes, took it to MIT, and then he figured out you actually didn't need to create the bass sound through any extension. What you needed to do was to separate the sound. And when it all comes together, you will hear the same thing. So for those of you who don't know, the origins of your subwoofer came from the guns, Nite Ashite, Manua, and Wulome. And you know what happened next? Mr. Bose left MIT quickly, created his Bose industry, and today that Bose franchise or that Bose corporation is the most valuable sound asset in the world. They are worth billions. So it highlights what Kwesi Pratt has been saying, how we limit ourselves. So Ramaphosa lost a very important opportunity to tell our story, and I'm completely disgusted. He is one of the richest black people in the world. For those of you who don't know, Cyril Ramaphosa owns MTN. So he had absolutely nothing to lose telling the American president his peace of mind about what he has been to, because he himself has been to prison. Cyril Ramaphosa grew up in Ghana. At airport, student hostel. That is where he went to school. So, what was it about that story that he couldn't tell? What was it about the exploitation of South Africa that he couldn't tell? For those of you who watched the coronation of King Charles, where do you think all the diamonds on the crown that he was wearing came from? They are called the Cullinan diamonds. Go and Google it. A South African, a Boer, stole those diamonds, took it to the United Kingdom, they cut it, placed it on their crown. End of story. Nobody's asking them any questions. The other colored ones that you saw, called the Kohinoor collection, came from India. Same story. So our leaders should learn to tell a story.
In fact, the gold cards.
I don't want to go there.
It's from Ghana.
It's embarrassing.
The gold is from Ghana.
I didn't want to go there since you said it. When you go to Amsterdam, when you go to Holland, the gold carriage that the king sits in has a mosaic depicting slavery. And it has been there. Google it. Just Google the gold carriage of the king of Holland, depicting white men defiling African women. It is on the cart, or it is on the carriage. In fact, in Holland, there is a festival on days when white people paint their faces black to mock black people. It's today. Blackface is there today. They do it. So, Cyril Ramaphosa, you lost an opportunity. And if you didn't lose an opportunity, then you should fire every single person who works with you, because they should have told you this was coming. You saw how the president of Ukraine was forced to defend himself, and I'm proud of that man. You can call him whatever you want. He defended himself against an onslaught that came against his people. When you go to those places, you represent our people. You don't have to be rude, but when you are confronted with statements that are not true, you should defend our position. Because the story of the African is a sad story. A continent that has so much, and yet we have been given so little. Of course, part of it is our own doing. I mean, the story is told of Nana Kwame Nansa, who was unsure whether he should allow the Portuguese or is it the Danish to come to our shores, because he had figured out that when the water comes to the shore, it leaves because of gravity for a good reason. For those of you who have been to Cape Town, if you've ever been to Cape Town, the story of the exploitation of South African blacks is told immediately you step out of the airport. In your car going to your hotel, on the left side, you will see the shanty towns. And Uncle Kwesi and Doc were actually not graphic enough. In fact, the cardboard is not part of the retinue. It is plastic waste. When you go to Cape Town, as soon as you exit the airport, on the left side, just look on your left, you will see the shanty towns there. In those shanty towns, nobody has teeth in that place. Because you know what? They are actually allowed, they are actually given access to all kinds of moonshine to drink. Nobody has, there isn't one tooth in any of those shanty towns. Everybody operates on gums. And then you step onto the outskirts, the suburbs, go to Stellenbosch, go to Kirstenbosch, and you see one white person who owns a vineyard which is bigger than the whole of Accra. And I'll tell you no lie, those who have gone there know what I'm saying. And guess what? That is where all the black people work. So all these South African wines that we love to drink, and I'm not taking myself out of it. I like my glass of jamja, relaxes me after a hard day's work. Puts me to Marula. Yes, puts me to sleep. Make me tell no lie. Okay? You can walk through the vineyards in Stellenbosch and Kirstenbosch. It will take you days to walk from one end of one person's farm to another. I said some of them have vineyards that are bigger than Accra. And so when the black people are talking about the land issue, it does not behove on anybody to say those kinds of things to people who have suffered. And the blacks in South Africa are still suffering, because what was institutionalized there over hundreds of years, they have not been able to break it. Indeed, some of them have become victims, like Ramaphosa, have become victims of the patronage themselves. So now, they actually, I don't know whether they see themselves as maybe half black, half white. I don't know. But all I'm saying is that he should have defended our position and given our side of the story, because like the Venerable Chinua Achebe wrote, until the lion learns to speak, tales of the hunt will always be told from the point of view of the hunter. But we all know that the hunt doesn't go like the hunter says it does, because sometimes they don't return. I think that Africans should tell a story, our story. And I think that President Mahama did a yeoman's job in correcting the record. The only thing I will caution though is that if President Mahama is ever invited to the Oval Office the next 4 years, he should be prepared for an onslaught, because what he said or what he wrote has not gone unnoticed.
It's published in The Guardian.
Yeah, it hasn't gone unnoticed. You see, our story is very unique. In the United States, no American president is allowed to apologize for slavery, because they say it will come with legal consequences vis-a-vis reparations. But American presidents apologize for Nazism. Nazism took place in the 1940s for 12 years. They apologize for it. Our struggle, our oppression took place over hundreds of years. The Western industrial complex as it is now, and it doesn't matter where it is. You see, let's not limit this matter to America. For those of you who go to the United Kingdom, who do you think built the underground as it is? The origins of slavery, the people who started getting picked up as slaves, they didn't just go to America. The first spot they went to is Liverpool. So there is a slavery museum in Liverpool. And I know, because I'm a Liverpool supporter, everybody knows my support for Liverpool Football Club. There's a slavery museum at the docks of Liverpool. Albert Docks is there. The reason is there is that Liverpool was the transshipment point for slavery. So slavery occurred in Europe, right? And in the case of the United Kingdom, they actually went and enslaved people, because that's the only way I can put it. They went and brought Caribbeans to come and build the underground. As we speak today, they are asking some of them who came to build those underground to go back to the Caribbean. It happened like 2 years ago. Remember that guy who had forgotten to regularize his papers, but had been in the UK since the 1960s. He was asked to go back. He said he should go back. Until some human rights people stepped in and was like, what are you talking about? So our story is unique. Go to France, the story is the same. French people, the Gaulois, the white French, they routinely write articles and ask, is the French football team French or is it African? And yet, probably the best football team, national team in the world today is the French national team. It is not white. And the reason why they do well is the amalgam of footballers that they have in the team, because they have players from Mali. They have players who originate, whose ancestry is Malian, Cameroonian, Guinean, Burkinabes. And these are big, strong, tall guys. So add the nutrition and the genetics, and they are slapping everybody around. But they are only good when they win the trophy. In between them winning the trophy, people start questioning whether they are French. Our story is a tale of woe. I just hope and pray that when our leaders have an opportunity, they don't let it slip, because Cyril Ramaphosa has set us back decades by not telling our story when he had an opportunity to do so, allowing himself to be intimidated in that manner. You have been to prison for you have been to prison, right? Prison for on the back of apartheid. What else could have happened to you? But you see, we as Africans, we have ourselves to blame. We have ourselves to blame. Because we are told that when our economy is bad, we should just let people suffer. And then the people who tell us that we should let people suffer when our economy is bad, when their economy gets into trouble, they have something they call quantitative easing. You know what quantitative easing is?
Printing of money.
Print cash. And then they amortize it by redimensioning the classic laws of economics, right? To take care of what they have done. So what are we doing? We could go on and on and on and on. I think most of us who have the sense to see what happened, know what happened, know that the man lost an opportunity. I don't know when we will get that opportunity again. Given the current trends in America these days, may take a while. But my encouragement to our African leaders, the likes of those coming up, I mean, just recently, I don't know whether you guys have heard what happened to Lewin, the actor who's trying to make a movie about Ibrahima Traore. The French Secret Service have been intimidating him to stop the movie. He's been called several times not to make that movie. On the day he started shooting, he was attacked by unknown people. Because some people have recognized. Yeah, some people have begun to recognize that the man has become, is becoming
a hero,
an icon. I don't know how long he will live, because the way they are going, you know, with these people, you have to be safe 100% of the time, right?
It's impossible.
With them, they need to be lucky ones. So the odds don't favor him. Same thing they did. I mean, when they try and try and try and they can't, they will find somebody from within. Isn't that the story of Sankara? They will find your best friend. They will find something. Somebody your father has fed. Something. And that story is not a story that we don't know. Because for those of us who are Christians, our faith is founded on an act of betrayal by an insider. If Judas had not disclosed the whereabouts of Jesus Christ, we won't be where we are. There will be no Habemus Papa. No white smoke would have been billowing from anywhere. The Sistine Chapel will not have the paintings of Michelangelo. The Catholic Church will not be the richest organization in the world. That single act of betrayal. So we are not new. Today, for those of us like Uncle Kwesi, I don't see the reason why I should wake up on Sunday and go to church. Hey. I would rather thank God for my life, wherever he may be. I'll pray to him in my room. Thank him for his mercies. Socialization. Hold on, please, Doc. You see, because I'm a Presbyterian by birth. And when the Presbyterian Church was actively insulting John Mahama, I did not agree with them.
Was it a Presbyterian Church or was it an individual?
It was the individuals, the leaders of that organization make up the individuals. Right? When the moderator of the Presbyterian Church said the president of this country that people had voted for, please, what he said, I won't say it, we all know what he said. When the other guy was threatening hail and brimstone if we don't vote for him, he refused to recognize that. I will not go and sit in church with you preaching to me and dilute my blessings. So I'll stay at home. Because after we voted for that guy, My cousin, 8 years on, what has happened?
Ramaphosa.
What has happened? 8 years. I told you what will happen. What has happened?
What has happened is that you are now in government.
Me and you, we both lost our bank accounts, maybe so. We both lost our savings, maybe so. Exactly. So we are sitting here. Let's start again. After 25 years, as for Dr. Kisi, he didn't lose it because they gave him a heads up that it was coming. So he went to quickly withdraw his money and change it to dollars. So
South Africa.
We are talking about the same thing. We are talking about the Uncle Sams and Uncle Toms and whatever it is who have destroyed our country.
And got medal in.
And one of them just left power. He sat in front of the people and reported his own brothers to them. But there are historical antecedents of the people. Your
Ramaphosa.
Oh, Doc. Oh, stop it, please. You people are the people who went to tell the Queen that she shouldn't give us independence. I'm heading the keep quiet and listen.
True.
You wore tailcoat. When you were going, you didn't even work a day. You wore tailcoat and went to tell the Queen that why is she stopping the African experiment?
Historically is wrong. Yeah, right.
Shame on you.
Yeah, right.
What you should be doing is apologizing and not trying to stop me from saying what the people need to know. Stop it.
So you mean to say it there?
And they didn't even go with an aircraft. They went with a ship. You sat on a freighter no less, cargo ship, and you went to London and you went to tell the Queen that she should continue colonialism. Me can't now stop me. I don't know how to do. The people need to know that you people are a disgraceful lot. Right? Your antecedents is what has brought Ghana to where it is. Your opposition to Kwame Nkrumah. The things you did. When you came to power, you discontinued the building of railways and so that you could buy articulated trucks and ship stuff. That is why we are where we are today. You people should be ashamed of yourself. And if you ever come back to power with people who are Africans through and through. Because our story is a sad one. As we speak today, we are still tethered to an economic model that doesn't work for us. I said, this man sitting here, in 1982, I said, I was a young man, I was in secondary school, boldly stood up and said, where the government was going to become problematic. Did he lie or was he telling the truth? 44 years ago. Right? People pay prices for telling the truth. I said, we have one of them sitting here. And today some people, you are afraid you cook a crana, toilet is on a wusu.
Well, we'll be going to that shortly, but thank you. That should conclude our very first discussion. Doc, you...
I wanted to...
Okay.
Don't say it.
I think in gagging, then that means you literally are supporting what shouldn't happen.
I'm admitting.
I just wanted to be at variance a bit, with some of the commentary. I'm strongly for Africans telling our story as it is. I'm even more of a traditionalist than Kwesi might even appreciate. But the key thing is that based on our tradition, the MPP, I can appreciate where he's coming from. It's unfortunate. All parties have an unfortunate history. I won't go into other matters, but I certainly think that it needs to be made known that not everybody at the time was for what was done, even within the party. And he can appreciate the fact that when parties do sit and take decisions, in many times there are dissenting minds. So I just wanted to put that out, so that, not to appease you, but to just let you know that not all of us, or not all, were in support of that action.
Okay. Well, thank you. Yeah, just a few comments before we move on to the next topic. This Shaibu Yaya, who says, not only in Holland, in Belgium as well. I one time put my hand in the eyes of one of them. He came to mock me. I think he was talking about the blackface issue. The Lama Mamaku says we really have to tell our stories, not their histories. Africa is for Africans, and the West and Europe should stay away. We should keep the goons and sellouts among us far away from power. President Mahama and some of the African leaders are taking the African place. We, the real sons and daughters of Africa, are proud of them. Those are some of the comments you're sharing with us on Facebook. This one says, Kobe Kwesi Pratt is right. My uncle's bedroom is in Togo, and the sitting room is here in Ghana. Interesting story. Then this one also said, this from Sned, who says, SENA, didn't Osajifo warn us about South Africa's positioning to the freedom and economic emancipation of Africa? One of Dr. Kwame Nkrumah's words that I have kept so dearly is the saying that we live in a world of contradictions, but it's these contradictions that keep us going. I salute Kwame Pratt, but on the libation, I disagree with him, because my father, J.C. Akainete, was with them, but nothing came out of it except what he learned from Nkrumah. I live with from him. Let me link Osajifo's words to an issue back home. Hearing the minority leader on Chamawuntumi's case saying everything is not about court. We must stop the you do me, I do you thing. I can only look up to the only true leader and prophet, as I really want to be one, a perfect epitome for the Ghanaian West, for the Ghanaian nature. Sajifo, Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. Thank you very much. Dennis Yakwete says, if any African president who carries the sovereignty of their people should go to the White House and be bullied by Donald Trump helplessly, perhaps because of their hand in cap begging position, that will be the problem. I am more than certain President Obama will not do that, as evidence in his article on the South African president's sad experience. Dennis Yakwete, thank you very much. Yeah, this one's I'm very much enjoying you. Please tell my brother Sandubit. Okay, I don't know what that's about. There's also this one. Oh, says okay, I think he's talking about the story we are coming to. Will the hypocrites shut up? Where were they when Sir Chikata was embarrassingly arrested in church? Nobody should ask me whether I endorsed tit for tat, because Prophet Moses used tit for tat to stop people from behaving with impunity. Is it not interesting that the micro minority that once swore not to be sitting on the seats of the then NDC minority can today choose to be sitting on the bare floor on the premises of Yoko Asanko in Santa Maria? Please stop calling the WhatsApp lines for WhatsApp and text messages. If you call the line, it doesn't improve your chances of your messages being read in any way. It just makes it difficult for me to go through the ones we have currently. So please stop calling the line. It doesn't help at all. Of course. Well, we have to move on to the discussion of Yoko. We're talking about the series of things that happened there, specifically the one about the way the journalists were treated on day one. In fact, it's like your reporting was being monitored. You don't like what you heard, they'll come at you. And one of the journalists that suffered the most was the Joy News reporter. And that has been the subject of a criminal investigation by the police. But there's a lot on that. But 50 minutes on that. I'll start with Solomon also once again.
Yes, it's quite unfortunate that the once buoyant, once beautiful, once cohesive party, once tolerant party called the New Patriotic Party has now degenerated into a highly chaotic party, a party that no longer respects fundamental human rights. It's very unfortunate, and it's a source of worry, because if you are going to read the NPP's own constitution, the objective of the party under paragraph 19, they state clearly that the party believes in media pluralism and also respect for the media space. And if anybody will be truthful to itself, the NPP used the media to become a force to reckon with in terms of our body politic. So a party that has benefited from the media landscape, the last thing that you would expect from them would be for them to turn around and then assault journalists. But here again, I also blame media houses and journalists as a whole. What is the Ghana Journalists Association doing? You seem to be so divided on party lines that when it's affecting Mr. A, media house B and journalist B keeps quiet. So, and it's not only peculiar to the New Patriotic Party, it's also something that is very much peculiar to the NDC as well. When it's happening to one person, everybody keep quiet. Your station, Pan-Africa Radio Gold, has been at the receiving end for so long a time. But you seem not to be complaining, and other media houses and journalists also seem not to support you in your bid to, as it were, deal with the matter, because it doesn't affect them. I have been here on a number of times when openly, what's the name of that guy? Kofi Japan or so, used to be the YEA boss. He was in charge of placement. Yeah. I have heard him on phone insulting Pan-African journalists when all that they were doing was to ask whether or not they could even go and cover. Listen, people don't even, the intelligence levels of modern day politicians, some of them is going down so fast that you are holding a program. A media house is coming to cover the program or the activity for you for free. You are not going to pay them. Market your program. The guy was insulting them. But you will not have other media houses boycott the program. The last time when they said they were, as it were, was the launching of their, what led to the defeat, or what was it? That research that they did that they were doing at Aliza, Professor Okoye's program. Yeah. Openly, you have a second vice. And that was not the decision of the second vice, Masaudu Osman alone. It was the decision of all those that were sitting at the high table. Because if you look at Afenyo's face and you check the body language of Nanabi and Kodria, they had all agreed that the microphone of TV3 had to be thrown away. But who was going to do that? They looked into their faces. They realized that Osman's face wasn't as fine as theirs. So they said, go and do it. They call him Chama Buga. So he also acceded to their request and did it. Beyond that, consistently he has been, as it were, threatening media, particularly TV3. But when he was doing that Joy FM, you were there. Pan-Africa, you also here. You people are still covering their programs. So they have some sense of entitlement. Unless until you people boycott their programs, they will not take anybody serious. It's as though they are above the laws of the land. And that is what saddens me. Few people who have hijacked the party, they don't have any principles. I can bet you that majority of those that are doing that have not even read the NPP's constitution. They don't have appreciation of the party's own history. They don't have it. They don't know it. But now, for strange reasons, they are the ones leading the party. And that is why you see them going down so fast. The rate of depreciation decline is so fast, unbelievable. And it's because people that are unable, that are so intolerant, they lack the capacity to argue, debate anywhere. So the only thing they see is that if you don't agree with me, we have to attack you physically. And for me, it's worrisome. Now, you cannot also discuss this matter without looking at the context. What was the context? That the regional chairman Wontumi and Bernard Ntwibo had been arrested, and that you had some few supporters of the MPP gathered at the Yoko head office. SENA, you see, this country, people say things that they do not mean it. Going into election 2024, what were the main campaign issues? let's be frank with ourselves. Let's take out emotions and let's look at issues dispassionately. And every Ghanaian living in this country, the word on his or her mouth is that this country must develop. Is that not the case? Yeah. The key issues we took to election 2024 were galamsey, unemployment, the bad nature of the economy, and trumu. Remember that were LGBTQ. Galamsey, trade union, TUC. In fact, they embarked on demonstrations. Some of them, you had the mother body withdrew, but UTAC went ahead. All of us know that our environment has been destroyed. All of us know that Erastus Asaridonko have been doing series of documentaries exposing someone like Kuntumi for his actions and inactions in the Tano Nimre forest, in the Ohiampenipa area, in the Datano area. These are videos that are available everywhere. That if we had a president who cared about the unborn generation, who cared about the young ones, who to me should have been behind bars since. But then he got off the hook because at the end of the day, here was a president that went towards the Koforia to go and defend him that he was never involved in Galamsey. A new administration comes. They say yes, they are investigating a matter of what? Mining without permit. And these are the police charges. Polluting water bodies. Mining in the forest. And you have the very same Ghanaians, some of them few though, they are few, who have been yearning for a stop to Galamsey, also complain, I can't think far. Now we have further issues of fraud, money laundering. And these are serious matters. The man is taken to Yoko. And you see, the MPP, they are so much divided that they may never recover from it. And I'm very serious about it. When Professor Kofi was taken to court, what was the bail condition? He was granted a 10 million Ghana cedi bill. Is that not the case? Did you see any NPP member go there and fight for that bail condition to be reduced? How much is Professor Kofi being accused of? Is it not $2 million? SENA, let's do a simple mathematics. Who to me is allowed to have even collected a contract worth $45 million which has not been executed? So if someone that has been accused, that is an allegation, Professor Amir Kofi's own still remains an allegation until the matters are proven in court. A simple proportion. If $2 million is leading to a bail of 10 million Ghana cedis, I am only taking out the pollution of the water bodies, the destruction of the environment, mining in the forest, and only concentrating on the $45 million contract. If more or less divide, if less more divides, let's do the mathematics here. $45 million would have led to a bail condition of 2.2 billion. Take it from me. If you were going to go by what the court itself and the high court, the standard they are set. But here is Yoko saying that from where they sit and the sort of things that they are seeing, they believe that 50 million Ghana cedi loan, what's the name, bail condition is ideal. Yoko is representing us. Are those that are going on the streets, marching here and there, are they saying that if indeed Wontumi has taken our money through dubious means, he must be left off the hook, and would the party tomorrow be able to come back to Ghanaians and say that we are coming to fight against corruption? Don't they know that tomorrow we will play back to them that when the state took steps to deal with people that are taking this money illegally, they fought against it? How strategic could this be? They had thought Iyoko had handed him, handed him the very softest of ways. But guess what? Just like Kwejo Oponkroma said one time, that politicians do not have the interest of the people. Nobody has your interest. So, what to me is behind bars. Those that are going there, it is pure politics. They are using to us to advance their political careers. Some are looking for positions within the party, either national positions or regional positions. So they are taking the front burners. They are the ones granting all the interviews. They don't wish the man well. The man has been granted bail with conditions. Bring your property. You go there with your hands and go and sit on the floor. Does it make sense to you? Meanwhile, the person that is leading the sitting on the floor is a lawyer. Only last year, the least opportunity is to go to court. Today he's not going to go, he's going to sit on the floor. Why we need properties. Look, yesterday I listened to the lawyer of Ontumi, and in all sincerity, I cried within me. I think they don't respect Andy Apiakubi. They don't respect him. How could Gary Nimaku go to court without the knowledge of the counsel or the lawyer to the client? I mean, Senna, how can this happen? Have you thought of it? If I were him, I would have easily withdrawn my services yesterday night. I wouldn't even go closer to the case again. But clearly someone is sitting somewhere and saying that I am not capable. Because you see, what they don't know is that the state can worry to me even when or even if bail conditions are reduced. Sana, the mere fact that you submit a land title, and those of them who do not know that they are going back and forth, if you submit your land title with the valuation report, I'm a valuer by profession. The valuation that has been submitted probably was done by a private person. You know the state has a valuation institution, that's the land valuation board. Land valuation can also say, because it's not automatic that the value that has been put there is actually the value. Valuation is as an expression of opinion. So the state can say that, yes, you have brought your valuation, we are also causing land valuation board to also go and do a valuation on the same property to see whether or not the value tallies with what you have brought. Valuation does not take a day. They have to go to the field to do and take measurements. And if you want to have a stubborn state, they can take a month to do a valuation report. Beyond that, you would have presented a land title document. What is the guarantee that indeed that land title document is original? That it has been plotted at the Lands Commission. So then the state can also write back to land title to go and do a search on the land title report. Those that go to land title, they know that if you want the search fast, they call something window search. The state does not deal with window search. They deal with official search. Official search takes no less than 2 weeks. That one, you must have greased palms. And the state will be operating within the confines of the law. And that is why Apiakubi's posture is what any mature lawyer, that is how a mature lawyer behaves. That he knows that his client is boxed in a very tight corner. What is the objective of a lawyer is to make sure that the client gets some relief. And you have these hot-headed people around. They don't wish Win to me well. Some of us told Win to me when he was misbehaving. That look, the people around you who are doing governor, they don't love you, they don't wish you well, but you don't know. Now they are using him to propagate the agenda. As early as 6 a.m. yesterday, all loyalists of Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia started posting. Oh, Alhaji has arranged all the sureties. He has arranged them. They are ready. Will be out by close of day. All of them go to their Facebook walls. Only for Alhaji to go to the NIB office and come back and tell them that we are working behind the scenes. Hey, Alhaji, that we have seen you physically, Entering the NIB, you couldn't bring chairman. You say you are working behind the scenes. Now, when they realized, they got wind that Brian had gotten sureties. He has produced documents to go and take out Woodbury. Woodbury will last in himself for a long time. They are playing football with him. He said, hey, we will not allow Brian to take the shine from us. We will muddy the waters. So going to the NIB cell was an afterthought by the Baumia faction just to grab the headlines so that Brian will not take the shine. Now they are even linking the fact that Apia Kubi has declared for Brian that he's not serving their interest. Hey, MPP. The last time Kenneth Japan went to visit, was it Wontumi? They were insulted him. He said, your operations director also, Alex Tete, is on record to have said that he showed where Wontumi was for him to be arrested. So why are you there? I am saying by the time Wontumi is out, the party is gone. Take it from me. And it is not for nothing. You see, when you have a fundamental problem, the fundamental problem of the party is that there is no leadership now. They are tickling themselves and laughing. And those of you in Boko whose names are easily used, I saw a gentleman on TV, and I don't know why the national security has not picked him. Any chaotic scene, any confusion, oh, I am from Boko, we the Kosasis, we are going to fight, we are bringing men. Hey, so any vagabond, all troublemakers are from the north. Is that what they are telling us? And not less more peaceful as that, you are sitting down for few people to always drag your names to the mud? I thought the national security should have picked that guy immediately. So that people will know that we are not in a banana republic. Pasena, who am I? I wish I could go and then guarantee for my brother Wontumi to come out. When they were chopping the money, they didn't give me some to build. But now my title would have been ready. And to the full soldiers, you see someone that called himself governor that could have easily attracted people to bail him. See the way he is suffering. How much more you that they are pushing on the street to go and fight? Get something and see. That is where you see that it is politics. I'll end it.
Thank you. And thank you. And I'll go to Doc immediately because before I come back and read some of the messages I sent to us, Doc.
Well, let me start off with some key things. I think Brian Champon released a press statement.
Okay.
Which the content of it largely is that elections didn't go well for us. It was a very painful loss, and since then, unity in the party has been troubled, and then also a return to the values that make us NPP has also had issues, and that he wishes, people have been talking to him, and people have been asking about the direction he wishes to take. But before he talks, and as you know, many people have come out and said all kinds of reasons for which we lost, all kinds of reasons for which we have to change the way we've been doing things. And before he also comes to make a statement, he's commissioned some people to go listen to the aspirations of Ghanaians and see how he can, as it is, make sure that it aligns with his vision for discipline in the party, his vision for better and proper governance, both within the party and in government, and then also to, as it is, see how best we can create jobs for the youth of this nation and make the party return to its, as it is, values that made MPP what it was. So he's pushing that hopefully within a month he would hear from people and then make his statement known though many have made all kinds of statements. He would also make his own. So this is one of the, let me say, key points this week with reference to Dr. Brian Champon until what occurred last night. And let me be categorical that he didn't go there. Granted, he knows Wontumi. He was troubled by the fact that no one had provided the sureties. And I think yesterday we heard it loud and clear that he had provided more than enough. And what I also need to reference is the fact that Apia Kubi stated clearly that he appreciated the police service for going with them to see the properties. And I think that, as Solomon has said, the state could have strategically delayed that process.
He said they waited for him until late.
So I think that must be admitted. And I think you're right about Andy's posture in making it known that Ioko has followed, let me say, the legal way of arresting any suspect. And I think Andy has been bashed for that. I understand people who have bashed him for various reasons. Granted, I think to win the hearts of the state so that they also do what is right for your client, so these things you have to admit as a lawyer, and he has done so. I think that I'm grateful as a party member that Honorable Brian Champon has offered himself to help us at least start the process of getting Wontumi out. I must say that we are certainly in troubling times. As a party, I would admit it here. I would not say that it is not the case. We are at a crossroads, and whether we like it or not, we may have to strongly work on going back to our intellectual habits, a party where we accepted dissenting minds, a party where people fought over ideas and principles, not over who belongs to which camp. And I think that if we should do these things, we'll remain strong. And as they say, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. So I'm hopeful that through all of these things, the party would emerge out with very prominent, powerful hands to steer the affairs of this party so that the likes of Solomon may come back to the party if he sees that Asana Yesano is in line with the original MPP, the Dubois time, the Kufuor time, or shall I say pre-2016 election win. You know, we've changed in our habits, we've lost our way a little bit, but the radar will get back, and that's what we're hoping for. So in reference to the Wontumi ordeal, let me also add that nothing against the NDC. My only plea is that maybe they ought to communicate a bit more to Ghanaians so that people can appreciate why and when they are picking people up. And let me add that, you know, Ghanaian armed robbers are a bit smart. They can walk into anybody's house dressed as our security services are doing now and literally either kidnap or ransack your house. And for that reason, I think that that process needs to be looked at so that if they are coming in with an appropriate warrant, or there should be identifiable state officials with them, which would, make it... We are very comfortable with the police. I think if, supposing there's a police uniformed man amongst them who does the communication with the family, I think these things may help. And to see men wielding AK-47, coming to my home with my kids, the image can be damaging for life. I'm looking at that aspect. And this is not Ghana. This is not our style. So I'll plead with them. I know they have very good reasons for wielding these, AK-47s, but we can do better. We can do better, and certainly the approach needs changing. I've seen some very beautiful police women who were used in the previous administration, and police service has women, and if they are known to be the people who engage, like this Adenta Kumi issue. I mean, I think it's troubling. The boy might be doing politics, his wife may not be. His mother may not be. His mother-in-law may not be. And in such instances, you can trigger a sudden heart failure, and for no reason, somebody's mother-in-law or mother can kaput. And for no reason, somebody's child may have traumatic experience that may last for life. I've seen American police handcuff parents behind their kids. They don't let them see it, because they know that to enter into a man's house, handcuff him with a child in front and all of that is not good for that child. That child may live and hate police service forever and take certain actions when they grow up that you may not be too happy with. So in summary, I would plead, I'm not here to, as it is, be preaching protection for people who may have been seemingly doing things that are contravening the laws of this country. But I also think that people have rights. And listen, I always say that we crucified some key people in this country about Airbus, only for the OSP and others to come and say that, listen, after further particulars came and thorough investigations happened, the claims are not founded. And yet, powerful characters were damaged. Reputations were destroyed because of something like that. So I really think that in my small experience in politics, I'll be pained when my small reputation I'm gated is destroyed over frivolous accusations and things like that. So I'm only praying that people have rights. And as it stands, I mean, today is one to me. Tomorrow, it may be JFK, maybe Nana B. I'm just making a point. I'm hoping that when they are going to JFK's house, or whoever it is, the grassroots, whoever, the approach should be managed well, and there should be enough communication so that Yoko's PR can really do a better job of carrying Ghanaians along with them as they do these things, and that is what my plea is today, and we will commensurate and get back to what we have lost, whatever glories we've lost as a party. But I think that certainly we are at a crossroads, and we need not necessarily a new vision, but leadership that can steer the affairs of the NPP much better than we've done in the past. And more and more I'm thinking of, even as it is joining a crusade, to push that we revisit the values that we knew of under Edubuahin, the values that we knew of under Kufuor and Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, especially before 2016. I think I must admit, sometimes you say atiyema irefie in local parlance. I think that as some of us got prosperous, we lost our way. And this is what our forefathers have always said, atiye emerefie. As some members got prosperous, we lost our way. But I want us to re-engineer and come back to our basic principles, so that the youth of this country can now live up to some higher expectation that MPP is changing, we're going back to basics, we're going back to ground zero, and we can rebuild. So I won't be as doomsday prophet like Solomon. I'm even hopeful that maybe someday he'll be the one championing this agenda for us to revisit the values of the MPP as we know them to be. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. And I'll come to Nzekojo Chumbuafo because I don't know, you came to mind. I was watching an interview with the former defense minister, Dominic Niti, who suggested that during their time they used the police, that they didn't use Iyoko. Anyway, so a few comments before I come to you. This is what he's watching us live from Techim and Bono East region. Says, tell Mr. Owusu that he will live long to advise we the young. I enjoy his presentation on TV, on every TV station. MPP leadership have no moral right to go to Iyoko. Have they forgotten those who demonstrated against illegal mining, then rent houses around Iyoko office because cases are coming? Mr. Owusu, never join this new problem party again. Next 4 years, I will join your party. You see, the MPP man is not comfortable in his room. That is coming from Techiman. This is Mr. Ho. Okay. Is it not to organize innocent Ghanaians on the street seeking for Wuntumi's release, claiming that 50 million is too much? I ask myself, were we not in this country when Capital Bank manager was asked to pay 200 million or to go to jail? Said Mohammed sent that from Fadama. Thank you. There's also, good morning, Ms. Kwesi and your team, particularly the gentleman in the blue jean shirt, who shared his valuable experience from developed countries. I'm Evans Bayo, fan of Pan-African TV, and says, Mr. Kwesi, I believe one of the problems we face in Africa, and specifically in Ghana, is our reliance on foreign aid. Can't we truly sustain ourselves without foreign aid? 54 countries so. I'm also reaching out to Mr. because I'm interested in potential, okay. The other part I can't read on air, but thank you. I think disentangle them. This one says, hi, Uncle Kwesi. Why? Nothing will happen to you now. Okay, hi, Uncle Kwesi. Why? Nothing will happen to you now. You will live always to defend the ruled people of Africa. Thank you. Musa Batwa is also saying a message. SENA, is Jamawuntumi being pursued illegally or is due process not being followed? Article 14.3b clearly states, upon reasonable suspicion of his having committed or being about to commit a criminal offense under the laws of Ghana and who is not released shall be brought before a court within 48 hours after the arrest, restriction, or detention. But Wuntumi was released, so that provision doesn't even apply here. How does someone who once tried to buy Chelsea FC for £2.5 billion suddenly struggle to meet a 50 million cedis bail condition? Very interesting comments. This is Nana who says, I am happy Dr. Kisi has realized that the MPP needs to reflect on the ways they unjustifiably do things and therefore have lost their way. He personally wanted to be like lawyer Apia Kobe, who also lost for his clarity of thought and stance on justice. He should remain resolute since truth stands, or he better remain a medical practitioner where he belongs. That's one of the comments. There are many comments actually on Facebook. I'll go back there. But before that, thank you very
much, SENA. Once again, I think that I want to limit my comments on this Wuntumi matter to what is in the public domain for obvious reasons. Okay. Let's begin with what we know. Okay. What's in the public domain? Prior to this government, of which I am part, coming to power, the erstwhile government, of which Wuntumi was their Ashanti regional chairman, or still is, took Wuntumi to court. That's public knowledge. What did they take him to court for? They took him to court for not being able to pay on a loan. He had not even made a single payment on a loan he contracted from Exit Bank. Okay. It is not the NDC government that sought recovery of money that want to be collected from a bank that belongs to all of us. And if the state capitalizes a bank, it is you and I's tax money. Want to be sought to do some project, and it's all in the public domain, a maize farm. And he didn't make a payment. He didn't make a single payment. So the then Minister of Trade, his fellow Ashanti Region Caucus, Ashanti Regional MP, sanctioned that they should seek recovery of the money. It's in the public domain. A new government has come and has abused more funds. SENA, look, if I come to you and I tell you that, look, I can sell you some medical equipment for your new center that you are building. So, I know you. Even though I don't agree with your politics, I know you here. Here's $10 million. Go and bring the equipment to me. And I don't bring the equipment. You chase me, Kojo. My center, what are you doing? The patients are coming. I say, oh, force majeure. I brought the things, but the rain fell. And the rain has washed away your equipment. Do you not have a right to report me to the police? If I stand on my 2 feet and tell you, because of force majeure, it should be a civil case, am I making sense? Where's the proof that I bought the equipment? And then the police go into the matter. What I'm saying is, I'm just giving a hypothetical scenario, right? The police go into the matter and find out that even the papers that I showed you, the bills of lading that I showed you that I've imported the equipment, I'm lying. I've imported any equipment because they've checked the source, nothing. And every time I come to the police station, I'm coming in a Bentley or a Mustang or a Corvette or a Lamborghini Countach. When you see it, would you not be very upset? Would it not suddenly occur to you that the money that you wanted to use to build your center is what I'm sitting in those luxury cars with? Doesn't that constitute fraud? You see, Chairman to me. Sorry. Chairman to me, lawyers are the people that everybody should be listening to. And I happen to know Andy Akubi very well because I worked with him at the Ministry of Trade. A very decent, upright, straight talking. Andy is what you see. Andy says it as it is. He's not loud, he's not obnoxious, but he's totally fearless. Indeed, during the last administration, he was the one person who stood up to his own government and said that Keno Foreta should be dismissed because he was ruining and destroying the economy. For that reason, he was poisoned. It's public knowledge. He nearly lost his life for standing up for what he believes in. He has been saying that the methods that Yoko used to arrest Chairman Wontumi were legitimate. But what Dr. Sharp, sitting to my right here, and his people are saying is that they are hitting the streets to compel Yoko to vary the conditions of bail. Jesus, Holy Christ. What if that? In the end, before I go back to the middle of my story, let me go to the end. In the end, do you know why Wontumi is still in police cells? Because Gary Nimako has gone to court on the blind side of his lawyers and instituted court action to vary the bail. Because of that, Yoko cannot release him. Wontumi has been released. He was not able to make bail. That is the fact. And after he made the bail, his lawyers have been caught on the blind side.
Where is it coming from?
Because somebody has gone to court. I don't know under what guise. I don't know if you have not been retained by somebody. How do you go to court to file a case against the government? That one, you will know. You didn't hear Dr. Kisi speaking about it because he's afraid. You didn't hear Dr. Kisi telling the public that by their own hand, the venerable chairman, the governor of the Ashanti, is still in police cells because of their own hand.
One of our own.
Sena, I hate to bring this up once again. Since this government came to power, several people have been called and cautioned by Yoko. When they caution you, they've arrested you. Have you heard have you heard anybody mass up to the place? Since this government came to power, I can count several people from the former administration have been called and questioned over issues. How many people have sent gangs and thugs and people gnashing, weeping, wailing, moaning and gnashing their teeth and sitting on the floor? How many people have sent people to Yoko? How many? In the SY administration, me, I was arrested several times. I was arrested when I was traveling. I was arrested when I was coming. In one particular occasion, they arrested me when I was coming, and they themselves put it on social media. That video is on social media. You've seen it. You arrest a man that who you say is wanted. The man has come to the country. You have arrested him, and they wanted to send me to jail that night. The person who did it, a certain Yosin. Last time, I was traveling to the United Kingdom. After this government came to power, he saw me. Oh, sir, why didn't you pass through the VIP? I looked at him and I said, are you crazy? I should pass through the VIP so that when government tells you the same person, you come and arrest me. Have you forgotten that you are the one who arrested me? Have you forgotten? And I said, get out of my face before I do something that I will regret. Get out. The same person who arrested me and wanted to go send me to immigration cells, told me I should go and pass VIP. That is the hypocrisy of some of the people who serve in the supposed state institutions. Tema to me says he's the governor of Ashanti. Tema to me sits on TV and shows us gold bars. Tema to me says he owns 69 houses in Kwadaso alone. Now, if you need to make bail, granted that state, they will not take bail from you if they have not asked you to bring self-cognizance. Liquidate 2 or 3 of the houses and give it to Dr. Kisi to come and put down. The state institutions, they take a check. But interestingly, why is it that the likes of my brother Dr. Kisi will not go and bail Wontumi? You know why? They are afraid that the state institutions will be looking at their own taxes. That's what they're afraid of. So many of the people who went to sit on the ground, only one person can bail Wontumi. And frankly, some of them actually want him to spend time there. You know that. Don't wink. Some of you want the man to spend time there because you don't want him to contest as your national chairman. You are actually afraid for him to contest as your national chairman. That's the truth. So, my friends and brothers in Jesus Christ, and whatever religion. Yes, in the presbytery. Follow Wood-Tumi's lawyers. You have been told without equivocation that the process used was right. You see, when it comes to my brothers on the other side, whenever they do anything that is wrong when they are in power, it's okay. When power shifts and there's somebody else in power, their refrain is into the only new employee at Iyoko is Remonata. Everybody there, from the person who collects your phones, and me, I'm a veteran of Iyoko, so I know the routine. Who collects your which I say me a veteran. I have order of Iyoko. They even presented me with a plaque the other day for frequent visits. The person who writes your name, searches you, they write your whoever, which officer you are going to see, whoever. To them, everybody knows me. When you get there, what they do, they haven't changed it in the last 4 months. The methods that they use to arrest people, they haven't changed it in the last 4 months. So what are we complaining about? But because they are in power, because they are in opposition, suddenly it is bad. SENA, Uncle Kwesi, how many times was I arrested? Did I tell anybody? My father's house was ransacked. I didn't call it Rambo style. I didn't even call it Jackie Chan style. I didn't call it Five Shaolin Master style. My father's house was ransacked. My house was ransacked. My poor brother, my younger brother, Kwame, his house was searched. In the end, they said they were looking for weapons. Me alone, against the state, I have enough weapons because I am John Wick. Right? John Wick. If you watch the movie called John Wick, they shoot at him, he does this, and he does this, and he does this, and the bullet comes to pass. Right? They did all that. They forced my mother to climb 5 flights of stairs to explain my whereabouts. Has any of that happened to me? When we were going there in 2017, excuse me to say, it was like we were visiting a model. I was here, Gojobosu was there, Governor Richardson was there, Alex Moore. Who's who? We were all there. Did you hear anybody sending people to go and complain outside Iyoko? Why? Is Governor Wood-Tumi of Ashanti? Is he bigger than anybody? Does he pay more taxes than anybody? And for those of you who went to sit there and went to get malaria, by next week you will get malaria. Will he fund your hospital visit? Will he even put you in any of the luxury cars that he has bought? Because that is also a problem.
It's a huge problem.
You have a man who sits on his radio station and says things about an ex-president's family that nobody can repeat. And that person has now become president. And you're sitting there saying, what time? Really? You know, some of us will never be president of Ghana. Some of us will never be president of Ghana. Me, I will never be president of Ghana. But what Wood-Tumi said about President Mahama's family, if he had said it about my family and I had become president, God help all of us. We are all human, no? You think we don't hurt? And the people around him, the chorus of stupid people around him, nobody ever told him that, chairman, don't open your mouth and say that. You see, his lawyers are very calm because they know what he has done. I am not saying for what, and there are people there who say, oh, vengeance is for the Lord. Hey, my friends, when God himself has had enough of Sodom and Gomorrah, he destroyed it. King David, the warrior, God never fought a battle for him. So nobody should come and talk about vengeance is mine. I say, who to me? He has a matter to tie or wasembonipo. And you people in the MPP, you are sitting here all pretending, all of you pretend. None of you want him to contest national chairman. None of you.
But I think...
I am accusing you inclusive. You don't want Wontumi to contest national. Say it here that you support him.
I am not a Wontumi fan.
Okay, great, fantastic.
That one is known.
And you are not the only person.
I'm not.
You know what? He's not the only person. He took almost all of them. And you know, many of them, SENA.
His position has always been known.
Many of them. I know his position.
Yes.
That's why I'm putting his position to him. And you see, MPP people follow people like Dr. Kisi. Dr. Kisi doesn't talk much. He saves lives. Dr. Kisi doesn't come and sit. If you have the health problems that some of us have, you value doctors more than anything else in life. Because you are living because you met a good doctor at the time when you had that illness. Right? I said, before I even met Dr. Kisi, the son, I knew Dr. Kisi, the father, who saved my uncle's life. Okay? Dr. Kisi doesn't get up every morning and tell us how many lives he has saved. Because how many lives he saved this morning before he came here, that is the solid money. And only solid money, no, and then liquid money now. TV, so no. Ask him how many people's lives he has saved within the last week. That is what we should value. This man, he is the man who should be your national chairman, because when he speaks, people will listen. Not people who can hardly put a sentence together and say they went to the same school as the school that Atoa and J. Kufuor went. To come and tell us about the conglomeration and the agglomeration. Listen, you people, and thankfully, I have never, ever agreed with their politics. But I'll give you free advice.
And land on that note from you.
I will land.
Yes.
This is not the party of FF Anto. Right? This is not the party of J. Kufuor. This is not even the party of Akufo-Addo, because at least whatever you want to say about Akufo-Addo, he may have destroyed a country, but Brofunu there. To quote, to harken onto the phrase that we are using, to me. Right? So my piece of advice to you, to the people who are running around threatening, and let me appeal to those who are sending threatening messages to people like me. Stop wasting your time. Because me, I'm not afraid of anybody. Me, Sophie. Say, Miss Radia, after the last 8 years, I would have capitulated long ago, because you people have absolutely no idea what happened to some of us.
They are threatening you.
I get it all the time.
Oh.
Wait, when MPP comes, but when you came, what did you do to me? Am I not still sitting here? What can you do? What exactly do you think you can do? Threatening, phone calls, text messages. What do you think? And let me send you also a warning. The intelligence agencies and the security service in this country, they have sophisticated methods of catching criminals. Don't be mistaken. They have everything. So if you think you are going to call to threaten a public official, you remove your chip from your phone and you throw it away and buy another one. Stop joking, they will get you. If they really want you. Wherever you go and hide, and when they catch you, please don't go and call your chief. Because me too, I have a chief. And my chief, who happens to my nephew, will not want me to be dead. I'm a very, very responsible member of my community in the Kopon and Latte. So they want me alive. Those death threats, they don't shake me. If you really want to find out what your chairman has done, go and ask him to tell you the truth. Ask his lawyers. But even if you can't get to him, follow what his lawyers have said. His lawyers have not accused the law enforcement agencies of doing anything untoward. And if you don't like the law, next time you come to power, change it for the better.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much. And this is the Mother World Talk Shows, Alhaji&Alhaji. Mr. Prabhu, conclude for us.
Well, we don't have a lot of time. So I'll be as brief as possible. And I'd like to refer to very candid statements which have been made by leading members of the New Patriotic Party. And the one that I've referred to most of the time is a statement made by Dr. Matthew Opoku Prempeh. And he has said in very clear language that if your government is in power and you start getting big contracts, fat contracts and so on, you should be ready for the day of accountability. And that when that day comes, you have to prove yourself. Finish. I think it's a very wise statement. You know, this is not like some statements he had made before. You know, but it's a very wise statement coming from the immediate past vice presidential candidate of the New Patriotic Party. Then there's a video of something which happened on Woon to Me TV. I don't know if you have seen it. Leaders of the NPP in Ashanti, constituencies and so on, coming together to address a press conference. And their claim is that all the major roads in Ashanti which have gone bad and so on, the contracts were given to their own chairperson, Woon to Me, and that the NPP was likely to lose elections because none of those roads had been done. And so, this is NPP. It's not me. I don't know the facts. They know the facts.
No, it's true. I agree with you.
Then, there's a young leader of the NPP, also from the Ashanti region, who spoke on radio and who said that, I thought that my party promised to fight Galamsey. And that if we're sincere about our promise to fight Galamsey, then we shouldn't have waited for the Muhammad government to arrest Muntumi. We should have arrested Muntumi and taken him to the police. This is an NPP man. Be that as it may, I'm also one of the people who has substantial respect for the lawyer of Mr. Entry Bosiako. I mean, everybody who has known Andy Apiakubi knows that he's an honest person. He's gentle, you know, and so on. And I'm sure that given his disposition, he will do everything possible to ensure that the rule of law applies in the pursuit of this case. You understand? There are a few things that are worrying. I cannot believe that a party like the New Patriotic Party has not been able to post bail bonds of 50 million in order to secure the release of Muntumi. I cannot believe it. Because the leaders, I mean, what they boast about, their properties that they boast about, we know are worth far in excess of 50 billion. They have multi-complex hotels. They have lands. Even the cars they drive, and so on. You understand? So it is strange that these leaders actually want Muntumi out of cells, and they are not able to put together the bail bond to get him out of prison. I mean, they certainly do not want him out. Because if they want him out, they can. Now, what is surprising is that these leaders include prominent lawyers, very prominent lawyers. And how they can come to the conclusion that the way to get Muntumi out of custody is to go and sit on the floor It's amazing. Because they know how to do it. And if you think that the bail is excessive and so on, you know what to do. You are lawyers. You know they're going to sit on the floor will not change anything. But they are not doing what they have to do, perhaps because they don't want him out. They want to keep him there. And there may be several reasons why they want to keep him there. One of those reasons could be business rivalry, which to me was getting contracts that other people would have loved to get. And if they didn't get and he got and he's in trouble, wow, they're happy. They won't say it, but they're happy. So business rivalry could be part of it. The other problem could simply be that they think that this would stop Untumi from becoming national chairman of their party. And they don't want him to become national chairman of their party. So if this is what will stop Untumi, then they're happy with it. They will never do anything to get him out of trouble. They will go and sit on the bare floor, go and sit on their bare floor in their suits and so on, knowing that that will not get him out of trouble. My brother, I insist, and there's good reason to insist, that anybody, even including foreigners, who are arrested for investigations or whatever in Ghana, and it does not matter whether it's the NDC which is in power or the NPP which is in power, it must be in accord with the laws of our country. All arrests have to be lawful. You understand? All arrests has to be lawful. And I'm not even going to go back to say that this happened before. Because if we go back, the NPP's case will fall flat. They're talking about the bail sum for Untumi. What me? His bill was 54 million. Not 50 at the time. 54 million. There are Ghanaians whose bail bonds have been in excess of 100 million and so on. So if you go to the past, the NPP's case will fall flat.
106.
Yes, yes. So I don't want us to do that. What I want us to do is simply to follow the law. If you think that the bail conditions are excessive, that there is a way to deal with it. But so doesn't it surprise you that a political party and its leaders, who only 5 months ago, every time there was an issue, they shouted, "Go to court." Today are refusing to go to court. What has changed? These were the people who were always telling us to go to court. Anytime we criticize, they say, "Hey, go to court." Anytime we talk about an infraction, they say, "Go to court." Today they are not saying go to court. They are sitting on the bare floor with their buttocks. Of course, they can't sit with their heads. Once I finish.
Well, thank you.
Go and look at the demonstration.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
She wants to see that. What does that woman wants to see? It's a very serious statement. She wants to see men go naked.
Well, thank you.
It's been a very loaded program today. My goodness. My goodness.
I have some nominees that I want to nominate for the naked demo.
Please, let's end the show.
Yeah, so my son is listening to me. It's okay.
Let's end the show.
We're talking about people who are having to report to security authorities. There are people who have been notifying me every day. So June 2nd is the day when Kenneth Oyata is supposed to appear before you, the special prosecutor. So that's also another matter. A lot of people are interested in that. I can't believe it. Constantly. No, but because the special prosecutor has indicated that if he does not turn up, he will declare him a fugitive and actually go after him. That's the special prosecutors. So that one is something that we're watching. We also understand Chairman Untumi is still in custody until that matter is disposed of. Yes, until that matter is disposed of. In fact, if you listen to Andy Apiakubi, he was not particularly happy about the application because he seems to be suggesting that I have done what I'm supposed to do as a lawyer. Just when I am about to, this thing has come to tie my hands. we'll deal with it on Monday, and then we'll secure his release. Well, I wanted to do a few comments, but I'm out of time. Just that there's within the national, I had a message from a Deputy National Communications Officer of the National Democratic Congress. That's Godwin Akogan. He is saying, okay. He's talking about NDC. So, Sena, in as much as I want to agree with my MPP brother, it's an invitation not more decent than waiting to be smoked out by a state institution. Let's appreciate what is being done rather than crying for people who are recalcitrant. And then he also talked about activities that the NDC will be undertaking in June. It says June 3rd, symposium at Holy Trinity Parish, Agomenya, Holy Trinity Parish Hall, Agomenya. And then June 4th, they have, of course, the June 4th uprising, flag raising and wreath laying, Deba at LaSalle Park, Dumasi Krobo. June 10th, 33rd anniversary celebration of the NDC at the party office at Adabaka. June 19th, they have the Cadence Day NDC party office. And June 22nd, of course, the birthday of His Excellency Jerry John Rawlings, the late. That will also be marked NDC party office at Adabaka. So that's something that he said I should bring to your attention. And of course,
do you realize that there's only one surviving member of the FRC?
Only one.
Is it J-Body?
No, J-Body is dead.
Oh, okay.
And
Tasiri?
No, was Tasiri a member? I don't think
yes, he was.
No.
Corporal Peter Tasiri, definitely.
Well, then there are two.
Yeah, Tasiri.
Captain Baachanfo. But Tasiri is in a bad way. He's very sick. You know.
But they're old.
No, how old?
40 plus years old. Body near him.
And in fact, the two of them are the people who initiated the June 4th uprising. Yes. Tasiri and Baachanfo. All the others were invited, including Jerry Rawlings.
Yeah. See. Anyway, a happy birthday to my colleague at Radio Go, Sandra Ahim, who celebrates her birthday today. Happy birthday to you, Sandra Ahim, and also happy birthday to a keen follower of this show, Madam Janetta Colley in Italy. Today is your birthday. Happy birthday to you. A belated happy birthday to Daniela Mavis Matthias, who celebrated her birthday yesterday. And of course, to one of my favorite people in this world, Irabna Frimpong, aka Dorcas. Yes, a happy birthday to you. Well, we are done with the show for today.
The bouquet of flowers?
Oh, no, I didn't. You're looking for the best.
Your producer's birthday today. And it's a party. I can remember
General Secretary of Socialist Movement of Ghana. And of course, it was wonderful to see Mr. Kojo Chumwafo, who is the acting chief executive of the Financial Intelligence Center. Solomon Owusu is a member of the Movement for Change, and Dr. Dixon Adoma Cook is a member of Parliament for Anya Sowutu. Yes, yes. I am SENA NOMBO. We are back same time next week with another edition of Alhaji&Alhaji, the mother of all talk shows. Thank you for your time and for your comments.
He has labored.
Hi first year students, exciting news. The Students Loan Trust Fund has opened an application portal for first year Ghanaians enrolled in accredited public tertiary institutions to access financial support from the government of Ghana under the no fee stress policy. Here's how to apply. First, visit nofeestress.sltf.gov.gh or www.sltf.gov.gh and click Apply for No Fee Stress. You'll need your Ghana card, phone number, and student identification number. Enter your Ghana card number, then verify your identity with the NIA by taking a selfie on the capture page. Next, fill in your personal details. You'll receive an OTP code. Confirm it on the OTP page. Then, on the tertiary information page, please enter your institutional details. Proceed to provide your banking information as instructed. You can create an account instantly if you do not have one. Review everything on the preview page. Hit submit and get a pop-up saying, "Thank you, your information has been submitted." Finally, download your completed form. At the Students Loan Trust Fund, we provide timely financial support to tertiary students.
truly African.
Wednesday to all of